from my youth. When I was a youngster now, you unleashed me now into yapping non-stop. That chapel would be full. Like when it was anniversaries or special Sundays, all the parents came and everything. And now no parents go and no children hardly go, because it's so much more interesting to be taken to the supermarket or to a fun lark or something. You see, children have got a very... well, their attention level's very low these days, but they do want stimulating all the time, something happening. And
what about the parish church along the way? How different were the congregations from the tabernacle and the parish church in size?
Well, they were reasonably much the same, and the lady that's there, the minister now, is a very nice lady indeed. I've chatted to her a couple of times, and I like her very much. But of course they're up against the same thing as we are. You don't get the young people. People want babies christened. People come there and want to be married because it's a nice looking church, and people want to be buried because their grandpa and all was there, and that's the thing that they do mostly now. They're always having funerals and stuff there. But I do not see that. If you've never gone to the church, it's a bit much to expect to be taken in at the last, you know. But at the same time, we had a very... And when I was younger, there was a big rivalry between church and chapel with the children.
Right, yeah, tell me more.
Yeah, well, we had every year we had the procession at Whitsuntide, and we had a band, and we had the big procession, and their band used to come and go up, and they would go into the rectory gardens for their party. Our band used to follow them up, and we would stop at the pub there and sing a hymn, and then we would go on round, and then we would go to one of the fields that one of the kind farmers had let us have. For the men had put big swings up, you know, with scaffolding poles with big swings, and that was what we had, and the band playing. It was such an innocent time, really, and we loved it. We looked forward to it so much. But there was quite a rivalry between the church and the chapel. I mean, as we were doing our procession, all the children from their church were all lining the wall on their side. Chapel kids, you know, All
right. So no Christian comradeship there. Okay, well, I've enjoyed listening to everyone.
Oh, darling, I bore you to tears.
You have not
people.
bored me to tears. You will not bore anybody to tears with these wonderful accounts of...
It's like taking a cork out of a bottle with me, because I'm full of memories, and I've got so few people to share them with. Right. You know, it's difficult, really. You know, Muriel Cook is my era a lot. You know, we can talk, and Gwen Miles, of course. Sometimes I can see her, and we always go on a journey backwards, you know, to when we were young. But there's not that many people who stayed in Rodborough all the years. They left, you know, and they got jobs away, and I wouldn't know what happened to them all now. But occasionally somebody surfaces and they're looking along the street trying to place where people used to be years ago.
Family history or something. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, I find that interesting if people ever hear, because there's not many people that stay in the same area.
Not now.
No, they move away, you see. In the wartime, of course, was a big devastation which scattered people all over the place, really.
Well, Irene, I wonder if you were just telling me there about how when summer came and you get clouds of dust.
When it was summer, it was very often hot, and of course with the road being unsurfaced, it used to blow up clouds of dust all the time, you know, white dust along the streets very often. And then the man used to come up with a big tank, a horse-drawn tank, and he used to turn a lever, and all water used to spray out and spray the road with the water to lay the dust. I don't know what happened to these dust carriers, but they must be in posterity somewhere for a heirloom. But that's what they did when it was very hot weather. But of course that is when people got things like fever. And if anybody got, the worst to get was TB, and they were taken off down to Standish, and we children used to stand about horrified, you know, if one of our little friends was being taken off. They'd say the fever wagons come in and they're taken. It was a horse-drawn one to start with, and they used to take off children, and some, of course, didn't come back.
I suppose the workhouse has stood around, wasn't it, until about the late 20s?
Oh, yes. When I went to Rodborough School, I did it, you see, until I went to the high school, and Mr. Foster was a very stern man, and he used to shout there at the boys, and he used to say, "You'll end up at that place up there, up the top of the hill, the workhouse." So we were always threatened that that's what happened to people who didn't pay attention in school.
So, I live in the house where he lives, so
yeah, Mr. Foster. He was an ex-army man, and he'd had an accident in the wartime, or an injury in which he had a sort of a plate fitted in his head, and we always reckoned that that's how he used to get a bit into temper sometimes. But he used to always have the cane on the table there, and I've seen lots of times when boys have had the cane and their little hands are red, you know, where the cane has hit them. But they had to be very naughty to do that. We were really afraid if anybody was getting into trouble like that.
Did you know of anybody who, well, I know all the people you would have known would have been quite respectable, to say the least, but as a Christian you might have seen people fall on hard times. It might be hard to remember, but anybody ending up in the workhouse, or your parents talking about that, or any memories around a fireside?
No, but I can remember men that got drunk here. Some men that lived down Spillman's Pitch, family, lots of family were always coming home drunk, and we used to run in when we heard them coming along the street shouting. I don't know how they got money to drink that amount, but they did. And I'm afraid their wives went short. They spent the money on themselves, on drink. Right. But I don't remember anybody getting taken off to the workhouse. They were never that poor. No. We were very poor, really. Halfway along this street, where the alleyway goes up there, on the corner, there was a little hut built. I don't know if you've been told about this, but there was a little hut at the bottom of the garden, and it was a man that was a cobbler, and he had this little hut, and used to go in, and he would be sitting there like a little gnome, and he would be mending shoes all the time.
That's at the bottom of
that little alleyway that comes down halfway between here and the end of the road, in the bottom of the garden there. Mr. Marmont, his name was, and we children used to go there when it was top season, and the sprigs used to come out of our tops, and Mr. Marmont, could you put a sprig in our top? And I think he got a bit fed up with it, really, because it was a non-profit making exercise, that was. But I remember him as a little old man with whiskers, white whiskers all down here. And of course the man that was been the schoolmaster, the school, before it moved to Rodborough, it was at Rodborough Church, and it was old Mr. not Box. The school teacher there, I remember him. I can see him going along